Hello again. High Holiday Highlights, Video 16. We are going to focus on the section of Mussaf known as Malchuyot. The Mussaf, the additional service on Rosh Hashanah, includes three sections unique to the liturgy of Rosh Hashanah. Those sections are Malchuyot, a section focusing on biblical verses referring to God as sovereign. The second, Zichronot, biblical verses referring to God who remembers the Jewish people. And third, Shofarot, verses which either connect to notions and ideas relating to the shofar, or in more expanded form, the idea of how the shofar symbolizes freedom and redemption. Malchuyot comes from the word melech, which is the Hebrew word for sovereign. Again, it was traditionally referred to as king, but it is a much more general, the general translation as sovereign. The running theme of God as sovereign is a way to acknowledge how God, as opposed to any human ruler, is the ultimate sovereign of the world. And this idea of God as sovereign has many features. First of all, it implies that God serves as judge. Today is Yom Hadin. It's considered a day of judgment. It's a day for self-scrutiny and for acknowledging God as being an objective but fair and flexible judge in the course of hearing and recognizing our characteristics and the lives that we've lived over the past year, all of our actions. But God is also, as a sovereign, a compassionate ruler. That is part of the Jewish thinking in suggested within the term sovereign. God is compassionate and doesn't render decisions based on any kind of a handbook or textbook. We know what it's like when you have a problem with some company and you call up the company and often receive from whoever's on the other end of the line the textbook response. It always bothers me getting a textbook response because that's how people are often trained. What I always appreciate is the person on the other end who really listens carefully to my observation, to my complaint or gripe, and then acts responding specifically to my words rather than to giving me what is written in the handbook. And that's the notion here. We really take comfort in knowing that God will judge and will consider each person based on that person's individual character and based on that individual's actions. And finally, as reflected in the Aleinu prayer, which we just discussed, we envision and acclaim God as a sovereign, as a way to help eliminate the dangers of human rulers. We offer really this as a hope that if everybody acclaims God as sovereign of the world, again, regardless of our individual faiths and the features of our worship, if we recognize God and not human rulers as the ultimate sovereign, this will go a long way towards, I believe, ending the hatred and injustice in the world. We also eliminate the possibility of human rulers with all of their indiscretions and their partisanships. The Malchuyot, just as the two themes which follow, consists of 10 biblical verses. 3 verses from the Torah, 3 verses from the prophets, that's the middle section of the Jewish Bible, and 3 sections from the writings, the last part of the Jewish Bible, primarily from the book of Psalms. And Malchuyot, as the other 2 sections, concludes with a 10th verse, another verse from the Torah. In the case of Malchuyot, we conclude with the Shema. So that really is the structure. And again, talking about themes and talking about the order of the liturgy and its design. All three of these Musaf sections are well designed. They all have 3 verses from the Torah, 3 from the prophets, 3 from the writings, and then a final concluding verse from the Torah. So really designed very well. Each of the 3 special sections concludes with the sounding of the shofar. And I think through the shofar we pledge to not only, we pledge to embrace the words that we have just read or chanted. It's not enough to read. We have to internalize those words, and the shofar motivates us to internalize those words. So how do we practically apply the words of the Malchuyot, these verses of expressing God's sovereignty? Well, the historian Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote about several presidents, but she wrote about Theodore Roosevelt, one of the presidents very much central to her writing. Theodore Roosevelt's evolution as a person and as a leader followed what was a horrible tragedy, after which he left the New York area and went to live in the Midwest. And as he evolved as a person, he began to better understand and appreciate the needs of all human beings. And as president, though he was a very strong presence, he demonstrated an empathy without which he would have been incapable of serving as president. The idea here that I want to convey is being a sovereign is not just about power, and it's not just about control, but it's really about listening to people, responding to their needs, responding to all of their characteristics. And this idea, we take comfort in that this idea applies to God, that we see God as a sovereign who truly listens to each and every human being. And I would suggest that however we vote in an upcoming election, we should be mindful of how a candidate responds to people. Whether the candidate just presents a general blueprint or actually hears, and we don't know until a person's in office, but truly and sincerely reflects upon what people are saying, because that really is what I think is so important as a characteristic, as a central characteristic of any leader. And all of that is suggested within God, that God listens to each and every person. There is no general blueprint and no general handbook. So God plays that kind of role. And just to give you a taste of Malchuyot, God is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The language here really conveys this as almost a sense of ecstasy. And the person writing it feels reassured. So the earth is established on sure foundation. Adonai shall be acknowledged sovereign of all the earth. If only that were true. It's a terrific vision. Shana Tova.